What's up, guys? I am back with the chapter 6 of the Nasm study guide. This chapter is called the Cardiorespiratory, Endocrine, and Digestive System. This chapter, I know, is very big. At least the cardiorespiratory system is very big on the Nasm exam. A good video just for the cardiorespiratory portion. This chapter, a good video to watch is Crash Courses. How blood moves through the heart. That would be a good video to watch, and that doesn't mean you can't watch the rest of my video. Let's just get into it. The cardiorespiratory system is comprised of the heart, blood vessels, and lungs. The respiratory system is comprised of the respiratory airways, lungs, and respiratory muscles. The heart is contained in an area referred to as the mediastinum. A normal heart rate ranges from 60 to 100 beats per minute. That bullet point sounds like a test question to me, so let's go over it one more time. A normal heart rate ranges from 60 to 100 beats per minute. Each side of the heart has two chambers, an atrium and a ventricle. The body will increase the heart rate in response to exercise and decrease the heart rate during sleep. The electrical conduction system of the heart is responsible for the function and begins with the sinoatrial node, is in the right atrium. The sinoatrial node is referred to as the pacemaker of the heart and sends an electrical signal to the arterioventricular node and ultimately into the ventricles. The right atrium gathers deoxygenated blood, returning to the heart from the body, and then sends it to the right ventricle and to the lungs for oxygenation. The left atrium receives oxygenated blood from the lungs and sends it into the left ventricle to be pumped out into the body. Special valves are present in the heart to ensure that blood is pumped in a one-way fashion. The pulmonary artery transports deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle to the lungs, whereas the pulmonary vein transports oxygenated blood from the lungs to the left atrium. Okay. The pulmonary artery transports deoxygenated blood from the right atrium to the lungs, whereas the pulmonary vein transports oxygenated blood from the lungs to the left atrium. As a part of a normal integrated functioning of the cardiorespiratory system, the carbon dioxide from deoxygenated blood pumped into the lungs from the right ventricle is ultimately expelled to the environment through normal expiration. Stroke volume is the amount of blood pumped out of the heart with each contraction. I'm going to lower my chair. All right. And diastolic volume is the volume of blood in the ventricle prior to contraction, whereas the end of systolic, I knew that, volume is the amount of blood present in the ventricle after contraction. Stroke volume is ultimately a product of end systolic volume minus end diastolic volume. Okay, now that's too low. There we go. That's good. Cardiac output is the volume of blood pumped out of the heart in a minute and is a function of both heart rate and stroke volume. Normal blood pressure is systolic less than 120 mmHg with diastolic of less than 80 mmHg. Arteries transport blood away from the heart to the body, whereas veins transport blood back to the heart, and capillaries function as an exchange channel between the vessels and bodily tissues. So already I'm realizing how many key terms are in this chapter, and we're not even into the endocrine system or anything, but I think the heart is the main study point. So with that being said, I'm going to have to I'll make a Quizlet with all these terms I'm not sure about and may not even come up in the exam, but should have a overall assisting effect on understanding the blood flow through the heart. So if I'm reading this and you also are lost as much as me, let's not be lost. We'll Quizlet it out. Anyway, I'm going to read that point one more time. This is going to be a longer video just because I think it has a lot of key points that is not necessarily complex, but a lot of memory that is not specifically intuitive to me, and that makes me think maybe someone else doesn't have it intuitively memorized. Arteries transport blood away from the heart to the body, whereas veins transport blood back into the heart, and capillaries function as an exchange channel between the vessels and bodily tissues. Breathing, ventilation, is divided into two phases, referred to as inspiration and expiration. The respiratory system is tasked with bringing in oxygen, filtering air from inspiration, and subsequently oxygenating blood from the heart, as well as exhaling carbon dioxide. A normal respiratory rate is 12 to 16 breaths per minute and relies on the primary respiratory muscles, the diaphragm, and I'm going to say costals or coastals. I think it's coastals, but let's verify. We know how to say it.
Intercostals.
Intercostals. During normal inspiration, active contraction of respiratory muscles occurs, whereas relaxation during expiration. Relax. During forced or heavy breathing, expiratory ventilation relies on secondary muscles to compress the thoracic cavity and force air out. Hey, this word is italicized, so probably important. Diffusion is a term used to describe the process of getting oxygen from the environment to the body tissues. Abnormal breathing patterns will affect exercise performance and may be identified by shallow breaths, which often are associated with the use of secondary respiration muscles, the sternocleidomastoid, upper trapezius, and scalenus. Oh, I've always wanted to know how to say that.
Scalene.
Scalene? I was wrong. A respiratory rate of less than 8 breaths per minute would be considered too slow. Bradypnea, whereas the rate greater than 24 breaths per minute is considered too high. Tachypnea. I don't think I'm saying that right, by the way. So, the endocrine system is comprised of glands and secrete hormones. When hormones are released into the bloodstream, they are protected by transporters, which carry them to the intended organ or structure, whereas they bind with the receptor to stimulate a particular function. The hypothalamus and pituitary gland control a majority of the functions of the endocrine system. Cortisol, which is stimulated by the adrenal cortex, may be used to aid in the recovery of exercise and as a marker of overtraining. Cortisol, I think that is a key thing to know. I do believe that. I've heard that. And let's say it again. Cortisol may be used to aid in recovery from exercise and as a marker of overtraining. So cortisol can be used as a marker for overtraining. Insulin and glucagon both function to control blood glucose levels and work opposite to each other. Glucagon aids in the metabolism of glucose, and insulin aids in the cellular uptake of storage of glucose. I'm not even going to try to say that one. Catecholamines, which consist of
epinephrine.
I do that one. I can't say it still, though. Come on. Norepinephrine. Oh, said it. Are immediately stimulated from the adrenal medulla in the response to exercise. Cortisol is considered a catabolic hormone. Is produced by adrenal cortex and is sensitive to blood sugar and sleep. Although testosterone levels decline with age, they can be stimulated through intense exercise. Growth hormones are responsible for the growth and development as well as lipolysis and are produced from the pituitary gland. One of the most potent of the anabolic hormones is insulin-like growth factor, which is produced by the liver in response to growth hormone binding on liver receptors. Testosterone growth hormone and insulin-like growth factors are stimulated in response to aerobic resistance training as well as vigorous aerobic activity, e.g. high-intensity training styles. HIT. Thyroid hormones serve numerous functions in the body, including metabolism and increasing bone mineral density through the secretion of calcitonin. Calcitonin was my guess.
Calcitonin.
Adequate sleep is a necessary requirement for the glucose metabolism, hormone function, and muscle recovery. The digestive system consists of oral cavity, head and mouth, and upper GI system. Stomach, small intestines, and let's get Siri again.
Duodenum, jejunum, and ileum.
And the lower GI tracts, large intestine, rectum, and anus, as well as liver, gallbladder, and pancreas. Ingested foods and liquids are first processed in the oral cavity, whereas mastication. Chewing. Mastication is chewing. Is a process which food is crushed and ground by teeth. Okay. So I realized I made a mistake this whole series, and I should have just been, every time I trip up on a word, press that look up, speak and look up. Whew. The mechanical process of chewing and breaking down food. Oh, well, I guess it defines it there. So, begins the digestive process. Once food is broken down, it passes through the esophagus into the stomach, where gastric juices aid in digestion, kill bacteria, and turn food into chyme, which is passed through the small intestine. So, how do you say that?
Chyme.
Chyme. And what is that? Chyme or chymus is the semi-fluid mass of the partly digested food that is expelled by a person's stomach, which is then passed into the small intestine. The small intestine has a key function of absorption of carbohydrates, lipids, calcium, amino acids, and iron. Additionally, electrolytes, including water, are absorbed into the small intestines. The large intestines absorb electrolytes and vitamins and serve to pass waste from the non-digested food into the rectum, where fluids are absorbed into both small and large intestines. The large intestines uses water to help pass waste into the rectum. The liver, gallbladder, and pancreas produce and store digestive juices, which are secreted into the small intestine to help with digestion. Evidence suggests that exercise can improve digestive function by increasing transit time of food from upper to lower GI tracts. All right, so that is chapter 6. Woohoo! I can do that lookup feature, so I'm going to be doing that a lot more. So prepare to be a lot more educated with me. So we'll be able to not only learn how to say the words that I don't know, or maybe you don't know, but we'll also be able to get the definition of them in real time. So that is chapter 6. Thank you for sticking along with me. And come back next time for chapter 7, for the human movement. Can't speak. Yeah, chapter 7, human movement science.